Inside modern seafood processing factories in Japan, the process of catching and processing mackerel is organized with high precision like a giant industrial chain. Every early morning, specialized fishing boats leave the port, heading out to the distant sea where mackerel migrate along the cold water currents. When the boat reaches a location predetermined by positioning systems and sonar, fishermen drop giant nets or use purse seine nets hundreds of meters long to enclose the moving school of mackerel. The fish are pulled onto the deck, shining silver in the sunlight, their long, slender bodies still wriggling vigorously. Right on the deck, workers begin the preliminary sorting process. The large fish are kept for filleting. The smaller ones are reserved for canning or drying. All are put in deep ice boxes to keep them absolutely fresh before being brought back to the port. When the boat docks, refrigerated trucks are waiting, quickly transporting the fish to the factory in just a few hours. Here, the processing is carried out continuously without stopping. Dozens of workers in white uniforms, wearing masks and gloves, stand along the automatic conveyor belt. The tuna is passed through a high-pressure seawater washer for cleaning, then transferred to the dissection area. Sharp blades are manually controlled in combination with an automatic cutter to separate the head, tail and intestines in just a few seconds. The blood and organs are completely washed with cold water to ensure no deterioration. After that, the fish body is taken to the bone separator and filleting machine. The fish fillets are visually inspected by workers, removing any scratched or crushed meat. Each piece of fish is accurately weighed, divided into stainless steel trays and transferred to the quick freezing area at a temperature of -40 degrees Celsius, helping the fish retain its structure and natural sweetness. Meanwhile, the fish head and bones are used as broth or animal feed. After freezing, the fish is automatically vacuum packed, printed with the production date and batch code. Then put into cartons and transferred to cold storage awaiting export. This process is closely monitored by a temperature sensor system and automatic cameras, ensuring that no errors occur throughout the process. The smell of fresh fish mixed with the cold scent of seawater and the sound of continuously operating machinery create an atmosphere that is both urgent and orderly. Every hour, tons of mackerel are processed, packaged and ready for the domestic and international markets. The Japanese consider this not only a job but also an art of preserving the flavor of the ocean, where each fish is treated carefully as a delicate product carrying the soul of the ocean from the packaging area. Frozen tuna boxes are loaded onto specialized refrigerated trucks, transported to major distribution centers or export ports. Meanwhile, at the factory, the production line operates continuously around the clock, with workers taking shifts to ensure stable output. Each stage is strictly inspected according to international food safety and hygiene standards. Supervisory engineers walk along the conveyor belt, recording temperature, cleanliness, and processing speed parameters. Inside the testing room, fish samples are randomly taken to check protein, fat, and freshness levels to ensure every batch is of optimal quality. In addition, wastewater from the fish washing and slaughtering area is also treated through a biological filtration system, recycled into technical washing water, minimizing environmental pollution. In the freezing area, covered in thick, cold air, Workers move between rows of towering fish boxes, checking batch codes and expiration dates. Each box is carefully arranged on a pallet, wrapped in shrink film and then covered with an additional layer of insulation. Preparing for a long journey to major markets such as the US, Europe and Southeast Asia, the atmosphere in the factory has a steady rhythm. Each sound of the compressor, the sound of the knife hitting the steel, the sound of the conveyor belt running continuously creates the characteristic sound of the Japanese seafood industry. During breaks, workers sit together in the break room, sip a quick meal, chat about the weather or this year's fish season, then return to their positions with discipline and high concentration. Mackerel is processed here not only for domestic consumption but also to serve many famous Japanese dishes such as sashimi, salt-grilled mackerel or miso-braised mackerel. Each piece of fish that reaches the consumer goes through dozens of stages. From catching, sorting, freezing, transporting to processing and packaging, it is the perfect combination of advanced technology and exquisite craftsmanship that has helped the Japanese seafood industry become the world leader in quality and prestige. Factories like this are not only places of production, but also symbols of people's respect for the ocean, for each creature exploited. When night falls, the white lights still shine brightly in the factory. The conveyor belts still operate regularly, continuing the endless cycle of work. Where each mackerel caught from the cold ocean becomes a testament to the diligence, precision and pride of the Japanese people for their traditional fishing profession. When night falls, the cold air in the factory becomes denser. The air currents from the cooling system spread throughout the space, sticking to the steel floors and conveyor belts, making everything covered in a thin layer of frost. In the processing area, white lights shine down on the mackerel bodies that are neatly arranged, the silver scales reflecting the light sparkling like mirrors. The sound of machinery working rhythmically, mixed with the sound of sharp knives hitting steel. The sound of water continuously spraying from the high-pressure washing system. Everyone works by inertia. Every movement is precise, regular, without a moment of distraction. In the corner of the monitoring room, large screens display live data from each area: cold storage temperature, quantity of processed fish, power consumption and conveyor belt speed. Every small change is recorded and adjusted immediately. It is the perfect combination of human power and automation technology, where every detail is programmed and strictly controlled. In the freezing area, the cold air is so strong that breath turns into mist in just a few seconds. Workers move slowly, wearing thick clothes, cold-proof gloves and full-face helmets. Each tray of fish is placed in the freezing chamber, where the temperature drops sharply in just a few minutes, causing the meat fibers to contract and retain their natural structure. Once the freezing process is complete, the fish are transferred to the packaging area, where automatic machines vacuum each package of fish and label it with a QR code for traceability. Each package of mackerel carries complete information: catch area, processing date, and manufacturing plant, ensuring that consumers can clearly understand the journey of the product from ocean to table. In the data management area, employees sit in front of computers, entering data for each shipment, checking the accuracy of the information before sending reports to the inspection agency and customers. Behind the factory, the byproduct processing area also operates in parallel, where fish heads, bones, and organs are passed through a grinder, cooked into fish oil and fish meal for export to European countries for use in the pharmaceutical and animal feed industries. No part of the fish is wasted. Everything is used to the fullest, reflecting the typical Japanese philosophy of saving and respecting natural resources. Outside, snow falls lightly on the harbor, and the light from the factory shines dimly through the mist. Each refrigerated container truck slowly left the gate, carrying crates of processed mackerel, heading to the port of shipment. Inside, the assembly line still runs without stopping, like the heart of a giant ship beating steadily, keeping the rhythm of the entire marine industry of the land of the rising sun, where every drop of sweat, every fish, and every precise operation crystallizes into the pride called Japanese quality. As dawn gradually breaks offshore, the first rays of light shine through the frosted glass windows of the factory, reflecting on the shiny steel surface of the conveyor belts, clearly illuminating every trace of cold air still lingering in the air. The night shift ends, and a new group of workers change into protective gear and enter, continuing their work without stopping. The morning air is full of vitality, but the pace is still steady and precise like a perfectly functioning machine. In the receiving area, refrigerated trucks from newly arrived fishing vessels are lining up. Each crate of fresh mackerel is transferred to the weighing and sorting area. The fish that have just left the sea still carry a hint of salt. Their skin is smooth and shiny, their silver shine shining under the light. Technicians measure the weight, record and paste the inspection code before the fish are put into the cleaning process. The smell of fresh fish mixed with the cold scent of seawater creates a unique flavor that anyone who has ever stepped into a seafood factory cannot forget. In the slaughtering area, skilled workers work quickly like artists. They hold the knife and lightly slide it to separate the head and body, without any deviation of even a few millimeters. Their hands move skillfully through hundreds of fish every day, but still maintain absolute precision. Behind, automatic cutting machines operate continuously, blades rotating rapidly, dividing the fish into precise, uniform-sized pieces. Each piece of fish meat is transferred to the inspection area, where other workers observe under strong lights to remove any remaining bones or bruised areas of meat. From here, the fish is put through a purification process with artificial seawater, ensuring that the meat retains its natural saltiness without being damaged. In the special processing area, some batches of mackerel are processed to make sashimi or high-quality grilled fish. The process is even more rigorous. Every stage is monitored by a hygiene sensor system, checking every small index such as humidity. In the deep blue sea, where the waves are constantly rolling and the sea breeze carries the characteristic salty smell of the ocean, shark fishing boats begin their dangerous journey. Hunting sharks with fishing lines is a job that requires the courage, experience and skills of seasoned fishermen. They must prepare carefully before the trip, because even a small mistake can cause them to lose the whole trip, or even endanger their lives. Before setting sail, the captain and crew check the entire long fishing line system, a specialized line that can withstand the enormous pulling force of sharks weighing hundreds of kilograms. Each hook is sharpened like a knife blade, attached to sturdy steel cables. Because with just a normal nylon line, in just a few seconds, the shark's saw-like teeth can cut it. The bait is usually large pieces of fish meat, and fresh blood is poured out to create a scent trail that dissolves in the water, luring the sharks closer. Once the boat reaches the deep waters where the sharks feed, the fishermen begin to lower their fishing lines into the sea. The lines can stretch for several kilometers, with hundreds of hooks spaced evenly. Each person on board has a specific task. One person drops the line. One checks the bait. One monitors the wind and current to determine the appropriate location. When the sun sets, the entire boat is immersed in the vast space of the night sea. The only sound is the crashing waves and the rustling of the cables stretched underwater. At midnight, when the sharks are most active, the fishermen must concentrate. Any jerk in the line could be a sign that a giant shark is hooked. The feeling of a sudden stretch in the line is the clearest signal. And immediately the group rushes to pull the line. Pulling the sharks up is not easy, as they struggle violently, using all their strength to escape. The fishing line vibrated violently, and sometimes the boat rocked under the great pull. Some people had to hold the reel tightly, while others used iron hooks to be ready to attach to the body of the fish when it surfaced. The battle between man and ocean monster could last for tens of minutes, even hours. As the shark gradually exhausted, its giant body began to appear under the water. The scene was both majestic and terrifying, as the ship's lights shone on its bright eyes and sharp white teeth that were gaping menacingly. The fishermen had to act quickly and precisely, using hooks to pull it onto the deck, then securing it with thick ropes to prevent it from thrashing and causing injury. Once the shark was safely on the deck, the processing began. Skilled workers used large knives to cut off the fins, the most valuable part, then cut the meat and stored it in cold storage. Everything had to be done quickly because the hot and humid sea climate easily spoiled the meat. The smell of blood spread throughout the ship, mixed with the sound of waves and wind, creating a typical atmosphere of shark hunting. After finishing, the ship continued to move to another location, drop new ropes and repeat the process for many days. Behind each shark hunt is sweat. Fear and respect for the power of nature. For fishermen, sharks are not only a source of income but also a symbol of challenge. Where people directly face the wild world under the deep sea, each time they pull a shark up, they conquer their own fear, affirming their bravery in the vast and ferocious ocean once the shark is brought aboard. The entire crew must coordinate to handle it safely, because even though it is hooked and pulled up, it can still suddenly rise up. A single tail flick or bite is enough to seriously injure anyone standing nearby. Therefore, the fishermen must use iron rods to secure the head, then tie the body tightly with steel wire before proceeding with the preliminary processing. The light shines on the giant shark's body, highlighting the thick gray skin and battle scars on its body, evidence of its fierce life in the ocean. The skilled workers start with knives to cut off the fins first, because that is the part with the highest commercial value, used as an ingredient for special dishes or preparations. The fins are cleaned, dried and carefully stored in the warehouse, while the body is split open to separate the meat, fat and organs. After being cut into blocks, the shark meat will be washed in seawater, packed in a cold box with ice to keep it fresh, and the thick skin will be separated because it can be used to make leather goods. All the work takes place in a humid space, heavy with the smell of blood and the characteristic fishy smell. But for fishermen, it is a familiar smell of the profession, a sign of a successful trip. When the preliminary processing is completed, the deck is washed clean. The fishing line is collected and carefully checked to ensure it is not damaged before being released again. There are nights when the fishermen do not sleep. They sit leaning against the side of the ship, their eyes looking out at the deep Black Sea, where the moonlight shimmers on the waves. Under the water, there may be dozens of other sharks circling, waiting for the smell of blood to rush in. Hunting sharks is not only a hard job but also a survival game between humans and nature. Many fishermen recounted that there were times when the fishing line was pulled so hard that it seemed like it was about to break, or that several people were holding it together and the shark still dragged it across the deck. Each time, they were both scared and excited, knowing that at the other end of the line was a huge booty. There were trips that lasted for weeks, the ship drifting in the deep sea. Big waves and unexpected rain and wind made the work more difficult. But it was in these challenges that their team spirit and strong will were further tempered. When the ship returned to shore, each box of shark was unloaded and transferred to the factory for further processing. The meat would be sliced thinly, dried or frozen for export, while shark oil would be extracted from the liver, used as an ingredient in cosmetics and pharmaceuticals. Every part of the shark has economic value, and that is what has kept the fishing line profession alive despite much controversy. For fishermen, this is not only a livelihood but also a source of pride for those who are attached to the sea. Those who dare to face the most ferocious creatures in the ocean to bring back results for life on land when the ship docked. The work at the port began to bustle again, no less than at sea. Giant blocks of shark were pulled down by cranes. Each block of meat weighing hundreds of kilograms was loaded onto a conveyor belt and taken to the factory's processing area. The air here was thick with a fishy smell, but everyone was used to it. Workers wore protective gear, gloves, and masks, and began the sorting process. Large sharks were brought to the main cutting area, where sharp blades and automatic cutting machines operated continuously. Workers stood next to them, supervising each cut, ensuring that each piece of meat met standards and was free of impurities. The white, firm meat was cut into even blocks, neatly arranged on trays, and prepared for freezing. The fat was collected separately to be cooked into oil, while the skin and bones were sent to the recycling area to maximize the value of the fish.